cool graphic from Scientific American that kind of showed, I don't think I can make that bigger, but it takes kind of 4 different areas in the world and showed you their distribution of food that they ate in the Paleolithic era. So again, you kind of see this Inuit area here. Look at that, meat and fish is almost predominantly what they ate. And then you come over here in this area, and they almost ate no meat and fish, right? It's just kind of 4 areas. You can do this for a variety. But again, this kind of shows, again, there's been research on this, that there was no paleo diet. They all kind of ate what was in their area that they could kind of live on. And this is a cool thing too, the blue zone. So there's a study done about 10 or 15 years ago of some of these hot spots. Essentially, they were areas that had insanely great health outcomes. So it was like super common, I think in the city in Japan, something like 1 out of 3 people lived till 90. Like also these blue zone areas, they were just trying to find what sort of these areas were associated, like what do these areas do, right? And then kind of with this Venn diagram, what were some of the commonalities with these groups that helped them live so long? I want to say there's a place in Italy or Europe that they never had a case of dementia, ever, right? So you're kind of looking at these areas. If you're looking at a model to live your nutrition by and kind of your lifestyle by, this would be it, right? And I kind of put some arrows here of practices they would do that would contraindicate the paleo diet. Okay, so you have this area in Italy with beans. You have legumes as being a common trademark of all of these areas. Whole grains, again, eat nuts. Peanuts are not supposed to be on the paleo diet. High soy consumption. Cordain also has a problem with soy for some reason. You also see a lot of other stuff in here maybe that the paleo diet does advocate, like moderate physical activity or a plant-based diet. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say you should smoke on the paleo diet, right? But the idea here is that if these things were so awful, it would be very strange that you could find 5 of these things that the healthiest people in the history of the world do on a pretty regular basis, right? So if you're gonna market your eating habits, your lifestyle habits over anyone, it would be the blue zone countries and areas. There are like 5 different studies or 5 different areas to look at here. And again, you also see this as kind of a lifestyle component. It's not just a nutrition component, okay? Again, I've kind of touched on this enough, so I won't kind of beat a dead horse here. But my general beef with the paleo diet is the fact that it's unnecessarily restrictive. So I kind of talked about this with low carb. Can people lose weight on the paleo diet? For sure. Because again, you can manipulate your energy balance, you can eat less food, and you can expend more energy and lose weight. But the idea of, can you adhere to it, right? Can you go to upper crust and eat paleo? Can you go out with your friends on Thanksgiving and eat paleo, right? And this is sustainable. Are you not going to eat sugar for the rest of your life? Are you not going to eat peanuts for the rest of your life? Those are always the questions I ask people where they're getting onto a diet. Can you do this for a long term, or is this a 4-week and I'm looking for the next answer? Or a 12-week and then what's next kind of a diet, right? There's really just not any good research showing that you need to restrict things like dairy, whole grains, and legumes. Actually, there are probably some very, very good foods you should consciously try to consume in your food. Again, this is assuming you don't have a gluten intolerance, celiac, lactose. Again, that's kind of without saying. And to kind of maybe give the paleo diet a little bit of credit here, there have been some supportive studies of late, but I kind of want to talk about that for a second. So in general, what they're finding is that the less refined carbohydrates, so we'll have a paleo diet with essentially no sugar for 8 weeks, and then compare it to a pretty high sugar diet, and shockingly, the paleo diet outperforms the super high sugar diet, right? So again, is eating less refined carbohydrates a good thing? Yeah, most likely. Most of the paleo diets and research also high in protein. So I'm not a huge fan of the RDA of protein, which is like 0.8 grams per kilo, which is super low compared to what I recommend for people. So a paleo diet will have maybe a gram per pound or maybe 1.6 grams per kilo, and they'll see a better benefit from that. But again, is that a better benefit from it being a paleo diet, or are these a better benefit from having higher fiber, higher protein, less refined carbs? And you can do these things without being restrictive here. That's kind of my point. And the meta-analysis on paleo diet, which examined like 8 different studies, there was no study that matched macronutrients. So yes, you can see a benefit in these paleo studies, but you're comparing it to such a horrible alternative, there's kind of no wonder you see that outcome. So we've yet to kind of see if someone's eating 50 grams of fat and 150 grams of carbs and 150 grams of protein, and they're avoiding these things, does that help them be more healthy, lose more fat, gain more muscle than if they weren't avoiding these things? The answer to that is we simply don't know. And then again, my big pet peeve here is to make things as easy as possible. So I like to say, avoid food avoidance. If you don't have to not eat it, don't just not eat it for some arbitrary reason, okay? And then lastly, my last kind of beef with the paleo diet is it kind of almost inherently be low carb. And again, when I talked about a lot of the pitfalls with possible hormonal issues, with being a little bit sluggish, with certainly not fueling what you guys do is CrossFit for the most part. Again, remember, 70% of your training demands are essentially fueled by carbohydrate. So it's very hard. You can do it, don't get me wrong. You can eat a higher carbohydrate paleo diet, but it's pretty damn hard to do that. So most people that eat paleo tend to inherently be low carbohydrate, which can be problematic on when it kind of fueling your exercise. And again, this is kind of like the breakdown of what they would see in research of what actual paleo diet would consist of the actual macronutrient breakdown. But again, if you get in this 40% carbohydrate intake, that's almost what I recommend for people. That's a pretty broad range, right? I kind of talked to Andy about below 30%, you're probably really pushing it, and when you get to 20%, you're really pushing it. So yeah, it's a pretty broad range of what paleo could be. But the big take home with the paleo diet I want to explain, I want you guys to take away from is that yes, you can lose weight. Yes, it can be better than another diet, but the unnecessary, the restrictiveness of it, of restricting of dairy, of whole grains, of legumes, is not really founded in any sort of evidence. And you can take the good things from a paleo diet, like eating fruits and vegetables and lean meats and things like that, take that away and enter it into your diet and kind of remove the other dogmatic gluten stuff away, okay?